Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye vows to work with the opposition-dominated National Assembly after the people stripped the ruling party of its parliamentary majority in last week's general election. The death toll in Ecuador has risen to at least 350 following last weekend's powerful earthquake. Rescue workers continue to dig through the rubble in search of survivors. First, the United States says it will respond strongly if North Korea conducts a fifth nuclear test. As speculation rises, the regime might push the button in the coming weeks. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, April 19th here in Seoul. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye met with her senior secretaries on Monday, the first such gathering since her ruling Saenuri party lost its parliamentary majority in last week's general election. She hinted that she would shift her approach towards the opposition parties in pushing forward with her reform drives and more. Our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun starts us off.
In regards to the results of last Wednesday's general election, President Park says she humbly accepts the people's will and that the election functioned as a reminder of what the people want.
앞으로 국민의 민의를 겸허히 받들어서 국정의 최우선 순위를 민생에 두고 사명감으로 대한민국의 경제 발전과 경제혁신 3개년 계획을 마무리하도록 하는데 혼신의 노력을 다하고자 합니다. 20대 국회가 민생과 경제에 매진하는 일하는 국회가 되기를 기대하면서 정부도 새롭게 출범하는 국회와 긴밀하게 협력해 나갈 것입니다.
Citing unfavorable conditions at home and abroad for the Korean economy at the moment, Park stressed that efforts to strengthen Seoul's economic fundamentals must continue, with structural reforms and economic revitalization remaining the key, and added that job creation should be the top priority in any policy making. With North Korea thought to be preparing for a fifth nuclear test, she wrapped up by calling for full defense readiness and said there should be no division of politics or ideology when it comes to national security and inter-Korean matters. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Now, staying with domestic politics, and the floor leaders of Korea's three main political parties also met on Monday for the first time since last Wednesday's general election. They agreed to convene the last National Assembly session before the 19th Assembly ends next month. Our political correspondent Park Ji-won reports.
Floor leaders of the three main parties agreed to make the best out of the remaining 40-some-odd days left of the 19th Assembly. Meeting for the first time since the general election, the three parties also agreed to convene for the last one-month-long parliamentary session before the 20th Assembly begins at the end of May. The floor leader of the ruling Saenuri party, which lost its parliamentary majority in the election, once again apologized to the public and ensured it will serve the interests of the country and the public.
Less than 2 months remain in this assembly, and we wish to wrap up this term by making the best out of it, by passing key bills to improve people's livelihoods.
The floor leader of the main opposition Minju Party said the 19th Assembly needs to make up for its shortcomings and respect the public's judgment during the remaining period. The Liberal Party stressed that bills related to labor reform and service industry promotion pushed by the ruling Conservative Party and government need to be reconsidered given the election results.
We believe the public's judgment on the four bills related to labor reform has already been made clear, and we need to conduct the remaining 19th Assembly accordingly.
The centrist People's Party stressed that it will do its best to act as mediator between the two parties in order to produce results and prevent the 19th Assembly from being judged as the worst assembly ever.
We believe that the public voted for us to assume a coordinating role. We all know that there are bills that each bloc has been pursuing, but we need to end the assembly with concessions and agreements.
The three main political parties also agreed to hold 2 plenary meetings in this last extraordinary session in early and in mid-May to pass some key pending bills. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Now, the death toll from a series of earthquakes in Japan has risen to 44 as rescue workers continue searching for the missing in the worst-hit areas of Kyushu Island. 2 additional bodies were found on Tuesday in a village near the city of Kumamoto. 9 people from that village are still missing. The authorities, including the police and army, have mobilized 4,000 personnel ahead of the end of the so-called golden time of 72 hours after a natural disaster to find survivors. Survival rates are known to fall rapidly after this period. And the full extent of the damage from Saturday's massive earthquake in Ecuador is becoming more and more apparent as rescue teams enter isolated inland areas. The number of dead now stands at more than 350. Ecuador's president says the cost of reconstruction will run into the billions of dollars. Ian Shin reports.
A devastating earthquake hit the South American country of Ecuador on April 16 with a magnitude of 7.8, the deadliest quake to have hit the region in decades. More than 300 were killed while thousands more have been hurt. Ecuador's Security Minister Cesar Navas said so far the death toll has risen to at least 350.
I need to find my baby. It's been 5 hours since she disappeared. All they're telling me is that my family is buried.
It felt like it wasn't going to end. I don't know about my brother yet.
The country's coastal province of Manabí, near the epicenter of the earthquake, was struck the hardest, with nearly 200 people reported dead. However, the damage of aftermath of the quake was felt throughout the entire nation. As the earthquake was followed with more than 135 aftershocks, the Ecuadorian government has deployed 10,000 soldiers and more than 4,000 police officers to aid in rescue efforts. States of emergency have been declared in several provinces, especially in the coastal region. Nations around the world are providing rescue workers along with emergency supplies for the survivors, but the extent of damage in affected regions and the lack of enough water supply as well as communication means are hindering rescue and recovery efforts. Ian Shin, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye will visit Iran next month for the first summit talks between the two countries since the establishment of their diplomatic ties all the way back in 1962. Ji Myung-gil reports.
Just 3 months after international sanctions on Iran were lifted, President Park Geun-hye will become the first South Korean president to hold summit talks with her Iranian counterpart, as Tehran invited her on a state visit in May. The presidential office of Cheongwade said Monday that Park is set to take off for a 3-day visit on May 1st to sit down with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. In addition to expanding economic cooperation in areas like infrastructure, energy, and plant construction, the two sides will also seek ways to enhance ties in other sectors for future growth, such as health and maritime affairs, as well as education and ODA. A business forum and culture events are also part of the president's schedule. Park will also likely take this chance to convey her message to Pyongyang, as Seoul and Tehran are highly anticipated to discuss North Korea's nuclear issues. President Park has continuously called on Pyongyang to take the route to change, citing Iran as an example.
북한이 핵 개발이 아무 소용이 없다는 것을 깨닫고 이란과 같이 국제사회에 나올 수 있도록 효과 있는 조치를 해주기를 기대합니다.
In addition to sharing Iran's view on sanctions on North Korea, the two countries will also look forward to upgrade their diplomatic relations, touching upon regional and other global issues. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea has warned that North Korea could conduct a 5th nuclear test in the near future, given recent movements at the regime's main testing site. Our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Yeon-bin with the details.
South Korea's defense ministry has reiterated that North Korea could conduct a fifth nuclear test in the coming days or weeks. The ministry spokesperson said Monday that Pyongyang is capable of conducting an underground nuclear test at any given moment.
The regime could conduct a full test or test a warhead without nuclear materials. There is also the possibility that Pyongyang could conduct an underground test, which we're keeping close tabs on.
During a meeting with her top aides, President Park Geun-hye on Monday said that Pyongyang could stage another provocation to protest its isolation and consolidate national unity. She added that signs of preparations for a fifth nuclear test have been detected. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has already ordered his military to conduct another test in mid-March. All four of North Korea's previous nuclear tests from 2006, 2009, 2013, and earlier this year were carried out at its Punggye-ri nuclear site in the northeastern part of the country. South Korean officials said there had been a drastic increase of vehicle and personnel activity at the site, indicating a nuclear detonation test might be in the works. Experts believe North Korea might conduct a test before its Workers' Party Congress in early May, which will be the regime's first in over 3.5 decades. The fifth nuclear test by North Korea seems imminent as Pyongyang looks to make up for its failed mid-range ballistic missile launch last week and open its Workers' Party of Congress with a bang. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, the United States has warned North Korea that it will respond strongly if the regime decides to conduct another nuclear test. Speaking to reporters following talks in Tokyo on Monday, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Washington would consider a number of possibilities, but added it would be premature to be specific. The official's comments come a matter of days after Pyongyang's failure to launch what the U.S. believes was an intermediate-range ballistic missile. Some experts think North Korea will conduct its fifth nuclear test before its party Congress in early May. The regime conducted its fourth nuclear test in early January. A senior South Korean diplomat has identified the long-held alliance between Seoul and Washington as the key to regional peace and prosperity. At a seminar in Washington on Monday, Kim Hyung-jin, who is Deputy Minister for Political Affairs at Seoul's Foreign Ministry, said South Korea and the U.S. will continue to demonstrate true partnership through a fair sharing of burden. Now, watchers say that Kim's use of the phrase fair sharing of burden was likely a rejection of U.S. presidential frontrunner Donald Trump's claims that Seoul gets a free ride from Washington in terms of its defense. The South Korean official also said Presidents Park and Obama have agreed to address the North Korean nuclear problem with the utmost determination and have backed up their words with action. South Korea, the United States and Japan are expected to send a strong message to North Korea for its continued missile and nuclear threats when they convene for trilateral talks in Seoul on this Tuesday. Seoul's Vice Foreign Minister Im Sung-nam and his US and Japanese counterparts Antony Blinken and Akitaka Saiki are expected to talk about the implementation of multilateral and their respective unilateral sanctions and are likely to evaluate China's efforts in pressuring its longtime ally. The Vice Minister level meeting is the third of its kind, with the last one held in Japan in January after North Korea's fourth nuclear test, and follows the trilateral summit last month between the country's leaders in Washington. Seoul is also scheduled to hold separate bilateral talks with Washington and Tokyo prior to that three-way meeting. The United Nations has adopted 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and each goal has specific targets to be achieved over the next 15 years. And for an increasing number of Korean companies, the goals also represent business opportunities. O.C. Young reports.
Ending poverty, realising gender equality and tackling global warming. These are some of the challenges Korean companies are taking on, in line with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, for the year 2030.
Regardless of industry or size, companies can adopt SDG principles across the board in corporate policy, supply chains management, and even R&D. There are also infinite possibilities for innovation involving new products and services.
KT Corporation is one such example. The country's communication giant aims to fully align its corporate strategy with the SDGs through state-of-the-art ICT and ethical business practices.
Our main areas of focus include healthcare applications, smart energy, and the environment. We also enforce ethical governance and supply chain management within our affiliates.
Also, venture companies are coming up with innovative products and services. Take this company in southern Seoul. It makes trendy phone accessories, high-quality scarves, clothing, and fine leather bags.
You have cashmere in Mongolia, and leathers in African countries, and wood products in Indonesia. But the problem is that many of the companies in developing countries do not have its own business model or channel to sell their products independently. And this is where we come in.
Discussing SDGs as an essential framework for Korean businesses, experts gathered at a forum held by UN Global Compact Korea.
Based on the universal values regarding human rights, labor, and the environment, the SDGs set a clear long-term direction, vital for corporate success as well as economic growth. A fraction of conglomerates and mid-sized companies are on the right track. However, many CEOs, especially those of SMEs, lack awareness and focus mainly on short-term profits.
Experts say the key is thinking longer term. By looking further ahead, business leaders can invest in a sustainable value chain that meets global standards. For the best chance of success, relevant government policy should promote and nurture these efforts. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And that is all we have for now. Do have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.